Hey, everybody. Welcome to That Midgard Show. I'm Clay.
And I'm Joe.
This episode, we're going to wrap up the Northlands. And there's going to be some countries that we're going to skip. But
Yeah.
we'll get back to those in later episodes. This episode, we're going to cover the Bleak Expanse and Stannasgard. And then we're going to stop there and move back to Empire of the Ghouls before our Labyrinth episodes. North of Jotunheim is an even more interesting place. This is the area that your PCs definitely want to travel to because there's a very friendly fire giant that lives in that area.
Yes.
What do you got, Joe?
Well, the area we're talking about here is the Bleak Expanse. Yeah, you want to meet the fire giant, but you definitely don't want to go to the Bleak Expanse. It is a horrible, horrible, desolate place. It is nothing but white tundra. It's a frozen desert. It lives up to its name of the Bleak Expanse. I mean, just white out snowstorms. You can't tell which way is up, down, left, right, like nothing. This is at the top of the world map if you're looking at it. It's all the way up there. We're talking the harshest, wildest of the Northland regions. Brutal, brutal place. Just desert of snow, ice.
Yet people find a way, right?
They do find a way. People live there. There are people that live there. People will survive in anything. This is why humans will survive another ice age if it ever comes. There is this human tribe that lives there called the Skrellings, and they're kind of on the outskirts of the tundra and the frozen sea. And they basically live a very rough life. They're evading the white bears. There's white dragons out there, lindorms. I mean, there's all sorts of horrible snow creatures that live there. I kind of picture these people as like Inuits, just a tribe of people living out in this frozen land, surviving. And it's a very interesting way of life. Now, this area, the Bleak Expanse, legend claims that there's this lost palace and tombs swallowed by the boreal ice. Lush worlds, great treasures buried beneath the snow. But most adventurers who go there and look, they just die. They just only find death there. So
popsicle.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you one thing you could throw at your party there if they're there adventuring is just like a frozen corpse in ice. Like
yeah.
You know, just perfectly preserved. It's easy to just kind of go astray, to get lost in the tundra. I mean, like I said earlier, the land and sky just blur into this single haze. You can't tell where you are. Like you watch old cartoons and movies and stuff where people are in a desert and they see mirages. I mean, the same thing can happen in a place like this. You'll hallucinate. You're frostbitten. You're cold. It's emptiness and despair. That's what the Bleak Expanse holds for people. Now, if by some chance, by some amazing constitution rolls, you survive and you continue on north, hundreds of miles north, there is this enormous mountain known as the Tower of the North Wind, or the Black Tower. And I mean, it's so far north, you're not going to see it on the map. So like, you know, just the black area on the map on the top, that it's somewhere up in there. That's probably a good thing, because the palace on top of this mountain is actually where Boreas lives, like the god of the north, the one that we've talked about in other episodes. This is his home. The book describes it as decorated with frozen souls. A place is so cold, your soul freezes. I mean, that's cool. But at the foot of this mountain, there is a site called Geskleithron, and this is a metropolis carved entirely from ice. This place is described as undeniably beautiful, like a marvel of engineering. I mean, imagine this just beautiful city carved out of nothing but ice. That alone just sounds interesting, right? This place is wrought exclusively from ice with a skill that even the frost giant artisans can't match. It markets trade in like, well, it's weird, right? So when you actually start looking at in the book at like the economy of this place, they trade in bottled storms from distant followers of Azrun, as well as like frozen mortal souls and memories frozen solid by boreal chill. That's some crazy weird stuff, guys. Like they say mortals can actually survive here, but only the elemental servants of Boreas are truly welcome here. So yeah, your party can go there. What it'll be like for them there is entirely another story. I feel like this is a place where they will not be welcome. It would possibly be dangerous. But imagine just describing this place to your party. Like, how could they resist going there? Like, they're going to want to check this place out. So the city is extremely open-ended. Basically, what I've told you about it, as far as being carved out of ice and them trading in things like frozen mortal souls, is about the extent of what's written about this place. So if you want to world build a cool, unique location, here you go, guys. Like, do some cool stuff with this.
I mean, if the Shadow Fae can trade in memories,
Yeah,
why not souls and storms and stuff like that?
yeah.
And it's totally plausible to build a city out of ice. I mean, there's hotels you can stay in Scandinavia that's all ice.
Yeah.
And having lived in Chicago for a lot of years, I can attest that the ice can be as hard as concrete.
True enough. I mean, but an entire city, I just picture towering buildings and archways and coliseums and the streets, everything just out of ice. And it sounds so cool. I mean, that blue white ice, man, just making 3D terrain for that would be super cool.
Yeah. And for God's sake, in your session zeros, you need to ban the phrase, "Do you want to build a snowman?"
Yes.
Or
the cold never bothered me anyway.
Right.
None of that. No frozen jokes allowed. Get out of my table. Now, to the south stands a tower called the Boiling Tower. Now, this is a column of steam that rises from the ice to market, visible for miles, right? For a mile in every direction around it, the ice is replaced by boiling water, since the tower's red stones are hotter than lava. Raging storm spirits perpetually circle it, howling in frustrated rage, but unable to harm the occupants. So what's here, you ask? Well, we talked about the fire giant. His name is Avindri, Against the Wind. He's this fire giant wizard, and he does not like Boreas at all. He likes everyone except for the servants of Boreas and Boreas himself. So what's cool about this guy is he is that unlikely ally to your party I mentioned earlier. So a lot of lost travelers can receive unexpected help from him, a rescue from him. Maybe you're in a fight, or maybe you're just lost. And this fire giant just shows up to the rescue because he just wants to stick it to Boreas. He's a rebel without a cause in the Bleak Expanse. So this wizard is probably one of the only allies you'll ever find in this region. He likes to serve his visitors things like wine and roasted bear. And really all he asks for in return is for news of the outside world or tales of victory over Boreas. I mean, he really doesn't like Boreas. However, he won't talk much about it. Like, he doesn't like to talk about his feud with Boreas. He doesn't like to get into that. He more just wants to host his company and just hear their stories. Why he chose to be so isolated in this besieged spot, we don't know. He doesn't want to tell anybody. Like, why be here? He can go live with the other fire giants. He could leave, but he chose this, and this is what he wants to do. So for the past year or so, the Boiling Tower has been under this sporadic siege by Boreas' minions. And it's said that Avindri may have learned the secret to stopping the relentless living glaciers, having driven one off by magic. So whether Avindri might trade that knowledge for assistance in his current plight is possible. We don't know. Again, not a lot of info there. So up to you as the GM. But it sounds like a good hook for an adventure to me at the very least, right?
Right. We talked about those living glaciers in the Empire of the Ghouls episode when they went into the Northlands. So good information in that.
Like I said, aside from these places, the Bleak Expanse doesn't really offer much geographically. It's there. It's the Bleak Expanse. So it's just an interesting, desolate, harsh location. But there are respites there. So definitely something fun for the party. So aside from all of that, there is one other unique location called Ansaroth. And it's in the west, and it's this ancient city that's concealed by ruins. It's largely hidden by like this rough wood and stone buildings. There's not much left. All that's really there now is like a stone floor and like 6 feet of a thick circular defensive wall on the southern side. And that's it. Like, that's all you'll find. However, there are these holes and passages that lead to these winding subterranean ancient halls down there. And as you descend through the chambers and galleries and passageways, these rooms begin to taper towards a single spiraling stairway that's cut inside of this enormous shaft. And these stairs descend for just several hundred feet before breaking off. But the shaft continues to descend, and at least as far as a drop torch can illuminate. Like you drop your torch down there, it'll just go till you can't even see it anymore, and it's still going. The trolls, the trollkin, the bugbears, all those kind of people who occupy the buildings consider the ruins cursed and haunted, but they also remain there in service of Boreas, whose agents sent them there. So there are some people there, but they're not fans of being there, so to speak, right? They basically have barricaded all the known entrances to the ruins below, except for this one portal, which they do use occasionally for certain serious transgressions. Basically, somebody does something messed up, they'll take that guilty party and they force them through that portal and then seal it up behind them again. If they come out before 5 nights have passed, they'll be killed on sight. However, if they survive, they are free to rejoin their fellows or go free or whatever they want. The problem is this has never happened. So, plot hook, what's down there? The book says like groups of dozens have gone in there and just never came out. What's down there? We don't know. They haven't told us. Put whatever you want down there. Mega dungeon's down there.
Think of that portal as the Stargate with that little iris thing, you know, that opens and closes. And if it's closed and you go through it, you're going to splat like a bug against that metal iris. It's kind of the same concept. People they don't care about, they want to get rid of, they push them through this portal. And that portal can be how your party gets there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could lead. Maybe it's a portal to the labyrinth. Maybe it's a portal to the shadow realm.
Everywhere. Maybe it goes to a different place. Who knows?
Something like this. Hey, go down these stairs till the end and then keep going down the hole, the deep dark hole forever. I mean, like, what's down there? It's whatever your little GM heart desires. Put the Dungeon of the Mad Mage down there. Put whatever you want down there. Endless possibilities, man. And maybe your party's the first one to come out alive, and the stories they will tell.
Strip it for parts, make it your own. You always hear us say
exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Honestly, right? This is the best example I think of that we've ever had. Forget Midgard. Just throw a dungeon like this in your own game where anybody goes in, never comes out, and it's a deep dark hole, and then put whatever you want down there. That's the best strip for parts and make it your own I've ever heard. So yeah, I mean, that kind of wraps up the Bleak Expanse. Just a cool place and definitely something to go have some fun with. Now, the next one we have up for today is an area I really like because I've mentioned this before, this is where my wife's Dwarven cleric character is from. That's Stannasgard. So, Clay, tell us a bit about Stannasgard, man.
It's a Dwarven city. It's been described as the most cosmopolitan of the Dwarven Reaver kingdoms in the Northlands. In fact, in the entire area of Midgard. Stannasgard has a great economy. It's a major trading enclave and a gateway to the Neater Straits. And for many merchants, it's the farthest they're going to go in the Northlands. Stannasgard, I'm cool with. Pick up, drop off, back down to the south. I'm gone. But like any dwarven community, guess what is most important? Mines. They are the backbone of Stannasgard's prosperity, since the land is rich in veins of iron and adamant, the raw material for adamantine. Because of their access to these raw materials, the dwarves of Stannasgard have made a reputation as master artisans of shield and armor. So if you need a nice badass set of armor and shields, Stannasgard is where you want to go. Now, because they like how things are with their economy, they rarely go to war. But when they do, their cause has never failed. Most recently, thousands of them have traveled to the Wolfmark, ready to strike down those vampires in Derrakul in the Greater Duchy of Morgau. And we talked about that extensively in earlier episodes.
Yeah, I mean, this is your tie-in back to Empire of the Ghouls right here, guys. This is a prime location to get aid.
Right. And Stannasgard was also a major shipbuilding center until this past year brought all work to a halt. Visindred, the horse eater, who was a red dragon thought slain long ago, dropped from the sky without warning, burning every stick of wood along the docks and shipyards he could find, and then rending and tearing down whatever he could not burn. Now, after making a meal of several dock workers and horses, Visandrand flew away and hasn't been seen since. left in its wake destruction as far as the eye can see. And all of the ships in progress or just finished, they've been all burned up, burned down to the waterline. But their problem is people already paid for this stuff. And so Stannasgard has a problem. I got to give them their money back, or I've got to build them new ships. And so this places them in a precarious state. One of these days, when my party visits Stannasgard, this very scene is going to happen a day after their arrival, where Visandrin drops out of the sky and burns the shit out of her.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Attack, that makes for a great game of Dungeons and Dragons, doesn't it? For me, my wife's character, she's a cleric of Voldar, which is like kind of a healing cleric, maybe even another Mask of Lada. She is dealing with the aftermath of the dragon attack, because when the dragon attacked, Voldar wasn't a huge deity in Stannasgard. And with all the injuries and all the sick and whatnot, her church came out and helped people. So now she's been sent off to Zobek to visit the Temple of Lada and learn more about those arts to hopefully build that church up in Stannasgard. So that dragon attack has become quite the spawn point for our game itself, for at least for my wife's character's backstory. She really wants to go back there at some point and find and kill that dragon. Like she's not happy. So yeah, I mean, a dragon attack, something like that, something that big, that's a huge plot hook with lots of possibilities.
And Stannasgard also, if memory serves, is the jumping off point for a few Warlock Lair adventures. I'm blanking on the one I've ran like twice. Stannasgard is kind of a blank page. Again, not a lot of stuff there. There's a little bit of extra lore in some of those Warlock Lair adventures, but again, throw your creativity into it. This is your opportunity to world build.
Yep, a lot of possibilities there for sure. And like you said, even without the dragon attack, whether you're coming in before the dragon attack, after the dragon attack, the fact that it is such this like dwarven cosmopolitan area, like you said, is very interesting in itself. It's a very different environment to the rest of the Northlands, I think. By the way, I took a quick look here. A Usurper's Tower might be the adventure you're trying to think of. So that one starts off in Stannasgard. So yeah, there's definitely some good stuff to happen up there.
Well, that's it for our tour of the Northlands. We're finally done. As we mentioned in the last podcast, any country we missed, we're going to be covering it in future episodes. So don't worry. And honestly, we only missed like a few of them.
Yeah.
So we're jonesing to get back to Empire of the Ghouls, which is essentially a grand tour of the Midgard world. So in our next episode, and I mean it this time, our next episode, we will get to talk about a very cool city in the Southlands named Sewall, as well as the surrounding area. And we're also going to discuss the Gravebinders, which is a unique wizard subclass found in Tome of Heroes.
Yep. And, we love hearing from our listeners. We value your guys' feedback and comments as the content we discussed. So you can reach us in several ways. Don't forget, comment on today's episode on our YouTube channel. We read and respond to all those comments. So don't hesitate to share your thoughts with us and your fellow listeners. Also on social media, the best place to reach us is in the koboldpress official Discord server. There you can send us a direct message or tag us in your post to join in the conversations. As always, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us out to grow and to reach a bigger audience that share a love of Midgard. And the podcast is also available on your favorite podcast platform, and you can always leave your review and rating there as well, which also will help us to improve and grow and reach more listeners. So we love you guys. We love Midgard, and thank you for tuning in today for That Midgard Show episode. And remember, as Wolfgang Barr says,
strip it for parts and make it your own. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.